the background.
I've never seen you so focused and correct before. It's unbelievable that you're like, guys, I have an opinion. It's clear. It's like a vision. Not since Ulysses Bloodstone have we had someone who with this much foresight in the future. Hey everyone, welcome to the Heroes World podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dupay. With me is one of the owners and proprietors, and you would say leader of the Heroes World store in Markham, Ontario. Please say hello, John.
The store is a joint effort, but yeah, I'm here. What's up, folks? We're back.
As of course, one of our many night stalkers or night warriors, Mr. Rob Gaudet.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I think, Stu, we should just point out that the fact that we're recording fairly early in the morning relative to when we usually record. Mm-hmm. So John, he doesn't have the tired sleepies in his eyes. Like he's laser focused and he's like rare.
I didn't get a coffee yet. I could use
for
coffee.
People I meant to say I meant to say death dealer Rob Gaudet. Sorry, I totally.
That's right.
It was one. I missed that. I totally was like flubbing on it. Again, I need more caffeine in the morning. But yeah, death dealer. Thank you.
Oh, I've had lots of coffee. I've had smoothies. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, guys. I'm good to go.
I think that's a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to Underworld, but that was a nice little thing from this TV show when the woman was like, death dealers. I'm like, ooh, I saw what you did there. This is great times. So welcome to our thoughts on a little special that dropped, Werewolf by Night. Marvel/Disney is now moving to do these little specials for the kiddos at home that don't know what's going on. Back when Rob and me and John were little kids, ABC would do all these little specials during the holiday season, whether it was
Garfield's Halloween special,
all the kids specials that they would have things going on that were just one-offs, not typically TV shows that have a Halloween or Christmas special, but this was just like a complete one-off show where it was something completely different and just honoring and having fun with the holiday season. So this is a product of that, and it's the first of the holiday specials. The next one will be Guardians of the Galaxy's Christmas special, so we'll see what it is. This is Werewolf by Night. It is a property of Marvel's, of their horror side. We always talked about the Avengers, then you got the magic stuff, so now they're moving into the horror genre. Marvel got there first. DC was always trying to do this with Constantine and moving in that space to make a super team, but I think that Marvel's going to get there before DC gets there yet again. So,
I don't know, the Batman is very Halloween-y, horror-y.
Yeah, but it's not fighting.
It's like Seven, right? It's kind of like Seven.
But not dealing with this was like a full out, here is this group of people that are fighting occult monsters and werewolves and vampires and all that stuff. So this is really a tune into that, rather than even Constantine, the TV show, was more dealing with like demons and ghouls rather than the classic taking in the corner of the dark universe. This is what Marvel's doing right now. They're like, well, since you guys aren't doing the dark universe, I guess we'll take that corner. So we're excited. So John
and Tom Cruise is like, what happened? Where'd it go? Where's my
Tom Cruise doesn't care. He's got so many things going on.
Tom Cruise was like, this was great. This fell apart so I could do Top Maverick, laughing all the way to the bank. He could probably bring back the dark universe if he wanted to, after Top Gun clout. Nonetheless, John, let's go to you. This is one of those products where you didn't really know much. So what generally your thoughts? What do you know about this property? What do you know? And do you know anything about Werewolf by Night? Do you know anything about the Bloodstones, either Ulysses or Elsa?
No. So this is along the lines of the more obscure Marvel lines. So this is the horror element. This is things that is very niche for the Marvel universe. I am familiar with Man-Thing and Bloodstone. Maybe those are the two characters that I knew the most. Everyone else kind of like new to me for this particular one. I've never read.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
What are you talking about? Someone's on the poster. Anyways, yeah, I didn't really know anything going into
this.
On that I didn't follow.
That you provided shows me the other.
It's there. Don't worry, it's there. But going into this, I didn't even know anything. I didn't watch that trailer. I think that trailer dropped a little while ago that showed off some of the characters that were in it. I didn't even watch the trailer. I was just like, whatever. I think, unfortunately, I don't think this one was aimed at me. But I watched it and I don't know. I didn't get it, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think about it. But yeah.
Rob,
To
your
quote
general
Andrew
knowledge of it?
McCarthy in Weekend at Bernie's, loved it. I yeah, I thought
Why?
this thing because first of all, like I appreciated the throwback feel to those old school B horror movies that you would see that they would be rerun on WIVB TV in Buffalo every Saturday or Sunday or on TVO or whatever, like or the PBS channel. Like I loved the look of it. Honestly, like this thing, it like hit a massive grand slam for me. I was super happy with the tone of it, the writing, the fun, the atmosphere, even the very beginning when it came up and you see like these fluorescent tubes coming up and it was like, Marvel special presentation. I was like, oh, just here it is. I knew right from that moment when they were dropping it to make it look like it was from like a 70s theme type stuff. I was like, I'm all in, man. I cannot wait. And the whole show in and of itself did not let me down. So very happy with it. And I would probably watch it again this weekend.
Yeah,
so.
I think Michael Gianico, the guy that basically did soundtracks, is this his first kind of directorial debut? No surprise, he also wrote the music. On Rotten Tomatoes right now, it's 92% fresh from reviewers and 97% audience score. So, John, I feel like you are the 10th dentist who doesn't believe in flossing or Colgate. 9 out of 10 dentists believe in this, and it seems to be like you are the one who was out.
I'm going to get you a T-shirt saying "I am the 3%."
This is not my wheelhouse. Horror genre has never been like kind of my jam. Rob's got a nostalgia factor in there. I have none of that. For these types of things,
one of those things where it does encapsulate. It does a really good job. It's, as we joked yesterday, it's 55 minutes, but we always joke that Marvel is probably 32 minutes with credits and commercials. By commercials, I mean opening credits and ending credits. They did a really good job of insulating the characters, who they are, what happens, and the black and white of it really allowed the characters to be a little darker because Marvel, typically we know the rating system is based on blood. So when you have blood, it goes to a rated R level. When you have no blood, you can be, PG. So there would essentially in a couple of scenes of this show be lots of blood, but because it's in black and white, you're like, you have no idea what's happening. Things splurting around. You're like, let's continue on going.
This is black fluid flying around.
There's a lot of fluid happening, and you're like, oh man, this is really bloody. But it is one of those throwbacks to the quirkiness of those movies. Even there's a particular scene with a coffin, and that is the cheeky. Kind of, John, you watched Thriller with the music video.
Yeah, okay, Michael Jackson's Thriller. Yes, I have watched.
Yeah, when Vincent Price does that beginning of like you, and like that is the tone. Yeah, and it does a nice way of adding that element of goofiness too, because that's what horror kind of is combination. That's why Evil Dead kind of works very well because it's comedy / horror. And this is Marvel's attempt to kind of move into that lane without making it too dark, because this is still Disney Marvel. They're not going to go all
that much comedy in there. I was actually wanting more of the trademark Marvel comedy thrown in here.
Can we just pause for a quick second and recognize that John's impression of Vincent Price is exactly the impression of the Count from Sesame Street?
One! It is. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
To be fair, John's probably only seen the Count because his young daughter's watching it. He's like, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
2 butts. You got a little bit of a Jamaican accent at the end there.
I'm
But yeah.
give it an 11.
I might have to do a game who said this, the Count or Buju Banton, and I think that John's gonna get it really confused. It's like who said walk like a champion? You're like, ooh, I think the Count said walk like a champion. Nonetheless, John, we're gonna go into the reviews because really, I want to get your number because this is it. What do you give this bad boy out of 10?
Oh, out of 10, I don't know. Again, folks, like this is not my genre, so I just didn't get this at all. I would give it like it looked all right, I guess. We'll get into it later. We'll talk about the black and white and all that kind of stuff. But I give it like a 6. I don't think I'm ever gonna watch this again.
I'm surprised you went that high. I thought you were going to go
okay.
5 or lower.
John doesn't want
It was watchable. I didn't want to turn it like I did. I got to the last 10 minutes, which wasn't actually the last 10 minutes because the credits are like 8 minutes, so I was missing maybe a minute or something and change. I jokingly said, I think I've got the gist of this. Can I stop? But I watched the rest of it. It's definitely watchable and it looks nice and it kind of has the storyline that goes. So I can't.
John, we've
totally trash
seen
it, but yeah.
so much trash in our podcast, and you're saying compared to the stuff we've seen,
it's better than Morbius. Yes, it's better than Morbius.
Wonder Woman 84. We can go on. There are
84, yeah, it's pretty bad.
You rated Morbius higher.
No, I rated Morbius negative whatever minutes it ran.
or Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I'd rather watch this than that.
Really? I think I would rather watch Venom.
Venom 2? Wow.
I think I would, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh boy.
This is not my genre, and we'll get into it, I guess. Or not my I didn't get it.
Okay. All right. Rob, what do you give this thing?
Oh, here, let me give you 9.5 right here.
Nine.
Yeah, I was hoping, Rob, you go not 1, not 2.
You count it all the way up. That would have been a good bit. Rob, come on.
Not
Stu, you should save that for yours.
Not 5, not 6. No. Yeah, no. I'm clearly Rob enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 9. I think as always.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought the things were great. I could still nitpick here and there, but that really is anyone. I think people would nitpick certain characters because I think people would say that, for example, Elsa Bloodstone, that's not the one you'd know from the comic books. So people could say, well, that's not really what it is. But I think at the end of the day, there's stuff you can build upon. I think that she is a character that will continue to grow. She's not the finished product, and that's essentially what this thing's all about. All right, so we're gonna, needless to say, I think we can all recommend that you should watch it. It's a very quick romp, especially during the Halloween period. Watch it during this time of season. Enjoy it. It's a less commitment than watching, as Rob and myself are going to end up watching Hawkeye again during the Christmas season. But this is a way less commitment than watching Hawkeye again for the holiday season.
It could have been 15 or 20 minutes shorter, I think.
No, it could be 15 to 20 minutes longer.
No, I think it would have worked for me. If this was in the half-hour mark, I think it would have worked.
That all that means though is that you have an attention span of like a 22-minute comedy.
No, exactly. No, I think there's a factor of something carrying this through for you guys.
No,
I told a really good, really good episode.
Yep.
A really good movie.
Yeah,
that's what's carrying me through because I've seen lots of stuff that are the same amount of time, and I'm like, wow, what a pant load. This is not it at all.
Yep. No. I totally agree. I wanted more. I know people were very upset that we didn't get a special cameo either by Blade or by Moon Knight. Because again, a lot of these characters are affiliated with the Midnight Suns, which is their Marvel's, I guess, Dark Justice League Dark team. Midnight Suns being a combination of like Blade and Ghost Rider and Elsa Bloodstone and Dr. Voodoo and all these different type of characters. I think at one point the Hood, there was Iron Fist. Morbius was part of this team. Doctor Strange, Werewolf by Night, Wong. So it's a very interesting team.
And apparently Wolverine. I don't know.
No, Wolverine was never part of this team, unfortunately.
Well, according to the video game coming out, he is.
Well, Spider-Man is too, but that's a whole different thing. But if it was DC, you better believe that Batman would be part of this team, as he was pigeonholed in the last Justice League Dark thing. So, nonetheless, we all recommend watch it. If you'd like to know more spoilery things, welcome. Join us on the next part, which is our spoiler conversation. So, John, throw up the detail up, and here we go. So, those listening at home, be warned, forewarned that we are talking about spoilers. John, give us your nitpicks. Give us your list of things you didn't like, because clearly you typically tell us things. You got to give us your list of things.
Yeah,
that
no,
you
I don't. I just didn't get it. Like the black and white. I think I have to watch a couple more things in black and white to appreciate it. It felt kind of gimmicky to me. And then when you see it transition to color later on, you're like, why wasn't this just in color? But I guess it was for this
When was the
throwback.
last time, John, you watched The Wizard of Oz?
I think I've only watched the Technicolor version, right? I don't think I've ever watched the black and white version. But they do have other.
Okay, right there, you completely nullified your answer because
Thank you.
John,
Thank you.
it
Okay.
was the very first movie that was done in Technicolor, but the beginning of the movie is in black and white. And then when she steps out of the house onto the yellow brick road, it turns into color. So there is no black and white version. It is black and white that goes into color for most of the movie.
I don't know. When was the last time you watched Wizard of Oz in full?
Like maybe, my kids were born maybe 7 years ago. Because
Yeah,
my son got completely freaked out by the flying monkeys. He was like, I'm out, and he left.
Yeah,
So-
I can't remember the last time I watched it,
6
but
years?
I do remember it in color. I don't remember
John,
that 2-minute sequence at the beginning when it was in black and white.
Wait, your daughters haven't watched The Wizard of Oz?
No,
Dude, you got to get high.
they've
and you
watched a
have to
live
play
play.
Pink
They've watched a
Floyd Dark
play,
Side of the
and a
Moon.
live play cannot transition from black and white into color. So,
Oh yeah, but you got to watch. You got to sit them down and watch the actual movie. The movie's incredible. Still, like that movie's fantastic.
Maybe I'll watch The Wiz with Michael Jackson.
Well,
That's.
What do you gotta hate on The Wiz?
All right, John. In a car term, that's like getting like a charger, and you're like, you know what? No need to have a charger when you can buy an Impreza instead. It's like it's the same thing. It has wheels. It moves. It's all good. Like why?
An Impreza is an incredible machine, though. They're both incredible machines. Okay, this black and white, like,
okay,
I feel like it wasn't necessary. This is
we'll move to a Corolla. A Corolla is just as good as a Charger.
Dude, have you seen the new Corolla? The freaking souped up one? It's crazy.
No,
it's gonna
I'm
be hard
talking
to
about
find.
the regular cheap one, not the souped up one. I'm talking about the regular Corolla we had in the 90s and 80s. Just
Hey, those are still driving right now. So those are tied interested
John,
in.
If I was to one day when I get enough money and I become a multi-billionaire, you would rather have a Corolla than a Charger. You don't just say this now.
Corolla would be an ultimate sleeper, but no, yeah, you get the Charger. But
Well,
I just don't.
We're just saying why. Thank you for justifying my point. Where you watch the source material, that movie is incredible. One of the it's hollowed ground. It's saved in the archives for the apocalypse, and it's one of the probably the top 10 movies of all time. So yeah, you do want to watch.
Okay, but so John, but instead of twigging the guy, obviously you have an issue with black and white stuff.
No, I didn't appreciate it. So maybe there is something to be said about black and white. Like I didn't watch the Mad Max as a black and white edition. It does look pretty incredible in the trailers. I haven't sat down and watched it. Logan has a black and white version. I haven't watched it either. So I
That's
wonder.
the only one I've watched. I haven't seen it in color.
Yeah,
So
that's
can
what
I
I'm saying.
ask you, John? Did you grow up watching the Three Stooges at all, or any of those?
Yeah, but for its time,
You know Laurel and Hardy.
No, I don't. I know the name, but I can't place an exact sketch or whatever you'd call it that they would do a performance. Yeah, but it's sure back in the day, yes, black and white. Those old Mummy, Frankenstein, whatever movies would be done in that. But this one, I didn't really get why it had to be in black and white. I thought it was maybe because of the CGI for Man Thing. They wanted it to look more like scarier and better. But then they transitioned to color at the end, and it still is a very good looking effect. So I wonder if this whole thing could have been done in color and appeal to more mass audience. But maybe people will just find fun in this kind of retro theming, right? So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like black and white is just a gimmick to make things look artsy, but I don't know. I just didn't appreciate it.
I think, as you mentioned, John, for this one, it's about the rated system. I think if they put it in color, they'd be they'd have the difficulty doing a lot of the blood scenes when the werewolf is basically ripping people apart. You can't have that in color because you have to then show the blood. But because it's black and white, and you could say,
Yeah,
well, you know,
she drops the sword in
yep,
that dude's head, and it's
yep,
fine. Like, I don't know if you would show this to any of your kids,
yeah,
but
but
I
again,
just didn't.
John, it's
Yeah,
blood. It's the diff. You can throw a
yeah,
sword through something, and because there's no blood coming out of it, it's like, oh, they could be a monster. Like, again, the rules are very firm on what you can and cannot do, and violence of blood is the reason why you watch half these movies. And when guys are being mauled, you're like, there's no blood coming out of them. When you watch rated R, it goes the other direction where there's so much blood in Rambo, and you're like,
yeah.
Tarantino, Kill
yeah,
Bill,
yeah,
flying everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I just didn't appreciate it, and maybe I'm
Sure,
not cultured enough or whatever. But I
sure.
did like when they transitioned to the color. Like Bloodstone's jacket was the trademark orange red leather
Mm.
number, which is her trademark. Like every comic you see, she's wearing that jacket. So to see it not in color, I didn't really associate that character as Bloodstone until the very end. But yeah, anyways, um, it gave me the feel that this is 100% a throwback. Like if I were to go back and watch The Mummy or Frankenstein, I feel like it would be very similar in plot, storytelling. So maybe that's the charm of it, right? That I just don't get, right? So maybe it is nice to see it because that is what those old movies were like. You guys can fill me in on that, but yeah, I
Wow, that's
it
a
just
way
didn't
of
work for me.
saying, "Hey, you guys are old farts," and
No, no, I've said that maybe I
tell me
just don't
what it was
appreciate
like
it.
back then, Grandpa.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying I don't appreciate it. I didn't watch those old movies. I didn't have
Yeah.
access to those old horror movies. I have no attachment to those are they Dark Universe characters now, whatever. But I have zero attachment to them.
Right.
So it didn't do anything for me in that. So if
To
you're
be
saying
fair,
nostalgia is riding a lot of this
yep.
9.5 rating for you guys, I don't have it for this.
Yeah. John, you've also never seen Monster Squad, correct?
No.
That's another.
Monster Squad, Monsters, no.
Rob, can you make that part of his homework for the Halloween for the sidekick show?
Adam's
Can you guys
Family.
watch
I've seen
Monster Squad?
Adam's Family, and I do enjoy Adam's Family.
I actually tried to find Monster Squad streaming somewhere so we could do it, but it wasn't. So it was difficult to be able to.
You gotta do this.
Rob,
It's gotta be done.
Did Noah watch this with you? I assume he's at school, probably. No.
Yeah, he's at school. We're
Yeah.
recording this on a Friday morning.
Yeah.
So
You
it is
think he's gonna
rated
be good
for.
with it?
Sorry.
You think he's gonna be good with it?
I don't know if he would appreciate it as he might like it. I don't know if he would appreciate it as much. I think, listen, the kids today are like, black and white. What is this crap? Grandpa, tell me what it was like. It's very much like talking to you, John. And then, and then once he gets over that hump, I think he might enjoy it. I think he'll enjoy the action of it all. But I don't know. It is rated 14A, so he's fine to watch it. But to your point, I wouldn't be showing younger kids this, I don't think. So
Yeah. So if you gathered you had a party and you were like, we're gonna watch something for Halloween.
yeah. I'd put this on.
You put this on?
I would put this on. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because you know what? I think that if you were to have a party with some friends and you were throwing this on, it's so different. Right? Like the feel of it, don't even think about nostalgia. Just the tone, the look of it is so different than what we're used to that I think it would attract a lot of eyeballs.
I think, John, to your point, if you were to play this in a Halloween party, one of the rules about playing movies and things in the background is you need something kind of light in the background, not something that will take away the attention of others. So, for example, I would never play Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the background because that movie is just insane. You wouldn't play, you would play this type of kooky horror movie because it's either this and you wouldn't play Bram Stoker's Dracula. So you play kind of movies that are light and thing where you could turn around and you're like, oh, everything kind of looks like a wonderful background, and then you go about enjoying the party. If you played something that took away, like Evil Dead, that would draw too many people to it, and they would just sit there watching a movie and not also, have conversation with others. So it kind of fits that nice wheelhouse of like, oh, there's something in the background. Oh, this is fun. Maybe I'll check it out at another time and date. Doesn't bring you in, but it's also not too gory because then it goes the other side of the coin for these horror films like Hostel and the gore stuff where it became Final Destination, where it's the blood and gore kind of went to 11, where it's kind of not as interesting as some of these other films where your imagination takes place. But yeah, no, I don't think, John, that you are have bad taste. I think in terms of it, that once you maybe open your mind a little more, maybe watch again down the line, it'll get on you. And I think you appreciate the fact that this is a very light romp into this universe without being too heavy. We can always say that Marvel sometimes does way too heavy stuff. Where like, here's them, like for example, Iron Man 2, where they're throwing too much stuff at you. This was like the first beginning of this movie. It's like, here are the Avengers, and then by the way, just like kind of copied what Doctor Strange uses. Like, they're the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but then there's another subsection that they don't fight, and that's monsters. So here are these monsters that the Avengers have no idea exist. Someone's got to deal with them. We deal with them. So kind of lines things up, kind of like when Wong is like, hey, the Avengers fight stuff, but we have to deal with the magic stuff. So just kind of lays the pathwork of, the Avengers can't do it all. There are different people, different subspecialties, and the hunters, these ones are. So will this lead on to more stuff? Hopefully, again, seeing Blade and seeing Black Knight and Man-Thing, as you also mentioned.
So that might work. Like, these characters, I didn't really care for any of them other than Man-Thing.
Jack Russell?
Ted. That was the only. Yeah, Ted was the only character that I like actually was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to see more of him. This felt more like a prequel to me. So if this is like the episode 0 and it launches into some other major movie or whatever, then I'm like, okay, cool. I actually will check out the next project, but I don't think I'm going to go back to this one.
Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into spoilery material because I really want people to
go into it. This is the whole point.
No. But what I want people to still like, I want to keep some things back. I want people to.
It's a 42-minute commitment. If they're here, they're probably either watched it or they want to know more.
Fair enough.
Let's go.
So when it comes to the aesthetic, it's not just black and white. It's the film scratches. It's the static, the light, like the burned hole lights in the film stock where that, are popping up every once in a while. Like, it really lends itself to creating this tone and this feel of something that from way back in the day that's been unearthed. Do you know what I'm saying? I wasn't a big fan of WandaVision, but what it allowed Marvel to do is say, hey, we can take chances and try different things. And I don't know if they've always been super successful with all of their swing for the fences. Let's see if it works or not work. Like, we've discussed a lot of the stuff, but I got to say, this one, like, they swung for the fences and they hammered, they nailed it. Like, this is a perfect, maybe the movies or shows that have come before it they've learned the lessons and what, you got to stumble before you can walk, before you can run. So I'm very, very happy with how this one turned out. I thought that I loved the acting. Gael Garcia Bernal was fantastic as Jack. I thought, Man-Thing. I mean, it's not a spoiler that he was in it. We saw him in the trailers, but when you see it here, it was a mixture of practical and special effects to the point where it was almost difficult at times to figure out which was the practical and which was the computer effect. But the practical effects were just amazing. I loved that it added that flair of authenticity to this project. Some of those actors and characters were playing it up to the extreme because there was a tongue-in-cheek based on the shit from the 40s and 50s that you would see. Like, when our parents would go to those B movies, the smell-o-vision and the 3D and with the when ants attack and all that type of stuff, right? Like those B horror schlock movies. Like, this really played it, especially the woman, the widow or whatever her name was. Like, she was crazy. Like, her eyes, like they must have had somebody say, hey, we need to see how wide your eyes can go, because her eyes went really wide and she was like a crazy old lady, like the old lady innkeeper. You're like, she's terrifying. The hunt, like, I was like, when they pull back and you see that the hunt is essentially in a maze, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of like a bottle episode because you can see where the outskirts of the maze were, but it felt so expansive and so large. And like, but the sets felt like they had just shifted a couple of the stairs around, and they put up that it was made with kind of wood and stuff like that. Like the coffin, Ulysses Bloodstone's coffin, they do a pan and scan around the back of his coffin, and it says "this way up" on the back of it, like in like a plywood. I was like, that's hilarious, right? Like the attention to detail of making it feel like you're watching something from the 50s, but modern, unreal with it. I loved the music, which is no surprise. Michael Giacchino is a fantastic composer and obviously a wonderful director.
But here's the thing: he didn't have to do that much heavy lifting, so it's kind of the right step. It's not a $250 million movie. It's just a short 42-minute episode that he can kind of figure things out. And I think for him, because it's black and white, CGI houses can get away with doing a little bit less work. When you have to do CGI work with full color, that's a lot of hard work. But because it's black and white, Man-Thing and all this stuff, they can kind of get away with like, oh, we don't need color for half these special effects. That's the thing about shading color with CGI. It's hard. When it's black and white, you can do a lot of things and cut some corners. And even with lighting as well, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of do back and forth until eventually they do go to color. So it's kind of training wheels for him in terms of like black and white. It's kind of the ultimate cheat where it allows you to make a lot of mistakes and cut corners where you wouldn't be able to do it if it was full color. So it's kind of a nice thing.
I was very curious to find out how they would actually do the werewolf because I was like, oh, are they going to go full CGI? And when Jack is in that cage and they're prodding him, right? And then the woman's using the bloodstone and causing him to essentially create or fast track this metamorphosis. You guys know how much I'm a big fan of the 78 Incredible Hulk show. And you see his arm there and he looks up and the eye, it dilutes and stuff like that. And I was like, and you see the ripping of the clothes and you hear that. I was like, oh. And then to see that it was a dude in a suit, right? I was like, wow, they are super committing to this whole aesthetic. It's a dude in a suit. Like, I was like, I couldn't believe it, right? It was a guy in a suit who was apparently trained. This werewolf is trained by the same choreography from the John Wick series. Right? This Werewolf by Night is also an Aikido master. But I was like, I loved the action. I loved the gore of it all, despite, to Stu's point earlier, there's no, like, you see blood, but you don't see blood because it's all black and white. But there's lots of fluid that is being spilled from people's bodies, which sounds a lot dirtier than I meant it to. But it's all black and white. And the one scene in that hallway, right? There's that hallway scene where the door on the other end is slowly closing, the Indiana Jones door. And Werewolf slashes somebody and the blood squirts onto the camera, the screen, and you start seeing it slowly coming down and trickling down. I was like, oh my God, like this, I don't know, man. I wanted to have like 3D glasses on and a bag of popcorn and a kid back in Missouri or something. I don't know. I chose Missouri. I just can't rave about this enough. I'm so happy it landed. It stuck the landing more than I thought it was going to.
Can we briefly just say, to your point, the werewolf was great, but Man-Thing looked incredible. I think where you spend the budget on Man-Thing. I was impressed with the little sparks, like even the little mushroom patch on his shoulders, like every little detail on it looked even more incredible once they're like, okay, now let's spend the money at the last scene of this movie where it goes black, like colored, because you didn't really notice it was black and white, but there's that white patch on her shoulder. You're like, this is great.
Daisy.
Like the whole, like, this is what we all kind of cared about in Swamp Thing, that TV show, that ill-fated DC TV show that came up, and you're like, man, Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing. Just like the cartoon TV show Swamp Thing.
But it's so funny you mentioned that transition to color because they were playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow as sung by Julie Garland from The Wizard of Oz. So it's a full circle in this episode, boys and girls.
Yeah. So it's most definitely very enjoyable. I like how they added a couple flourishes of their own, built the universe, but not had it too over the top, and even just showing that it was fun to see when they were like, oh, Jack, the character, had killed 100 monsters. Everyone's like, oh, you've done this. And they're like, he's like, 100. And everyone's like, whoa, you killed 100? And it's like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know how that's done. I guess when he turns into werewolf, he fights the monsters. It just wasn't clear. It's kind of like, how are you killing monsters? Or do you think he said he killed them, but they're actually alive? It's up in question. Is he killing just bad guys or good guys? What do you think, John?
I don't know. Again, not familiar with the comic book history. So
no, but I'm just thinking in general. Do you think he's
no. I think so. Yeah, it's actually I think he lied. Actually, when I think about it now, because he was too busy trying to save his buddy. So I think he's just making stuff up to get out of there. I don't think he was killing anybody.
No, I think that's 100% true. That's why he said that he's working so hard to he it only happens when the full moon, and he has a series of
safety checks,
of safety checks, whatever, to make sure he doesn't hurt anybody ever again. That's why when Elsa Bloodgood, they're trapped in that cage, he starts smelling her, looking at her, goes, I have to remember you, because, and it was interesting because all of them said, 28 monsters, this and that, and then she was like, and this, you have 100 kills, and it was very specific that he didn't say monsters, he said 100 kills, right? So I think for sure, this is a werewolf that has terrorized some portion of the MCU. Maybe in London, who knows?
So it's good. All right, John, we're gonna let you mull us over. You're fresh off this thing. Maybe it was too bright. Maybe you need to watch in a dark room.
Maybe the setting. If I was sitting in a movie theater, maybe with the popcorn, all the lights out,
I turned off
late at night. Yeah, maybe it would have worked better.
I turned off all the lights in my place. I put all the drapes down. I get as dark as possible to watch it in that kind of optimal experience this morning. So yeah, we'll come back to you. We'll ask you about how this rates to compare to the Christmas special. So then, nonetheless, John, tell us what.
Yeah, because it's a shame, because I like all the new Phase 4 stuff or whatever that they're doing all this different stuff with. But yeah, I don't know.
All of it.
I think I did. I liked Thor: Love and Thunder. You guys hated it.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange. I liked Shang-Chi. I like. Okay, you know what? Eternals. I wasn't super.
Well, here's the thing. We liked the Eternals and you didn't, so it's like
yeah. Eternals I was okay with. I didn't hate it, but I'm just saying.
Well, this is on brand, John. Everything you really
like
love.
That they're able to do other stuff, but I feel like this was. I felt like
this is what we talked about.
It was a little slow,
John, where George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were like, "Oh, comic book movies will just be boring because it's the same thing." This is the deviant. This is the.
I like that. Like when Rob was talking about that opening and stuff, like it's different. I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool because Marvel is maybe getting away from just being everything is superhero, right? And trying to get away from that mentality, I guess. So yeah, I appreciate it for that. It just didn't fire for me.
Fair enough.
It's fine. All right, John, where can they find you?
We still love you, John.
Yeah. No, you don't. You're lying. Heroes World Online. If you're not following us on Facebook, Instagram, our most active accounts. If you are listening to us on the audio, iTunes, or if you're watching us on YouTube, we are also available on iTunes and Spotify and whatever platform you choose to get your podcast from. And if you want to check us out in person, we are located in Markham, Ontario. All those links are down in the description. Come check us out. Thank you.
Rob, what's going on the Sidekick Show?
Well, obviously, the month of October is supposed to be a spectacular time watching movies. And I think one of us, being between John and myself, is a little bit afraid of watching these scary movies that we're seeing. So this Monday night, 8:15 live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, we are going back to DC's first shot at horror. No, not Swamp Thing with Heather Locklear, but we're going to go to Constantine with Keanu Reeves because Mr. Reeves has notified everybody, hey, we're making Constantine 2 some 30 years after the first one.
You never know if they might cancel it, though.
So we are going to go back. It's currently airing on Netflix in Canada, so if you haven't had an opportunity to check it out as of late, please go ahead and do so. Hey, it's a long weekend. It's Thanksgiving weekend. You have a lot of time to sit on your ass and recover from all that turkey. So you can check it out, Constantine, and then join John and I live 8:15 p.m. Monday night on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.
May I request in the next 3 weeks that you can watch Monster Squad? Like, you got to get this on for John. Like, this is now, this is year 2.5, Rob, of this podcast. We cannot use this as an excuse anymore that John can't watch Monster Squad. So.
I know.
There's a problem going back and watching those old movies without having the nostalgia component, I think.
That movie, John, when you watch it, you'll like it because it's this weird kids Goonie-esque. They kind of try to copy the Goonies, but with monsters. It also follows a Harry and Henderson style, you and your boy John Lithgow. So it's a lot of things. Rob's like, yeah, I can see that. And it's a lot of things, John, that is in your wheelhouse. I think you would really like Monster Squad. So yeah, I think we got to get on it, Rob. So all right. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Be safe. Have a good one, and we'll see you all sometime in the immediate future. Yeah. Peace out, everyone. Bye.